Chief Craig McCart, Deputy Chief of Criminal Investigations with the Indianapolis Police Department, and I'm going to provide you a very short, updated summary of events. After I do that, you will have a short period of time to ask some questions, and I will certainly try to answer what I can. But again, many of those questions are still left unanswered, and I won't be able to provide that information. Just after 11 o'clock, the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department received a call for service at 8951 Mirabel Road, which is the FedEx ground Plainfield operation, for shots being fired outside of the building. As they were responding, officers received information of a male walking through the parking lot shooting a rifle. Responding officers received additional information that a man shooting a weapon entered the building and multiple people were shot at the location. Officers arrived and began securing the scene by searching the business interior and exterior for the suspect and for anyone in need of medical services. Officers administered first aid and life-saving techniques until the Indianapolis Emergency Medical Services arrived on the scene. IEMS transported 4 victims with injuries consistent of a gunshot wound to various hospitals in the Indianapolis area. 2 other victims received minor injuries and were treated by IEMS at the scene and released. A 5th victim with injuries consistent with a gunshot wound sought medical attention in another county. Officers located a male with injuries consistent with a self-inflicted gunshot wound inside the building. Preliminary information gathered from the statements and evidence lead detectives to believe the male is the suspect in the shooting at this location. This individual has since been identified as 19-year-old Brandon Hull. FedEx officials have confirmed that Mr. Hull was a former employee at the facility, and he was last employed in 2020. There were at least 100 people in the facility at the time of the incident. Many were changing shifts and were on their dinner break. Detectives have served several search warrants at multiple locations and are continuing to gather evidence to determine the facts that led up to Thursday night's incident at the FedEx ground Plainfield operations. Anyone with information on this incident is asked to call Crime Stoppers anonymously at 317-262-TIPS or the IMPD Homicide Office at 317-327-3475. I'll now try to answer any questions that you guys have if I can.
Was the weapon an assault weapon, AR-15?
It was a rifle. Specifically, I don't know a make and model, but it was a rifle, yes.
Do we know if
If
he was fired?
he was fired? I don't have that information. I just know that he was last employed in 2020.
Is there any updated motive at this point as to why this happened?
No, and that's so we've recently identified him. So now the work really begins trying to establish some of that and see if we can figure out some sort of motive in this, but we don't have that right now.
What can you tell us about whether or not he was on IMPD's or FBI's radar?
The only thing that I can tell you is he was found in a couple of police reports. That's all that we have. One of those is from last year, and one was from, I believe, 2013, possibly.
The one March 3rd, 2020. Was a gun seized in a residence he was associated with March 3rd?
That's what was in the 2020 report. That's correct.
Did his girlfriend work here?
I have no information on that.
Are you able to elaborate on the report?
Excuse me?
Are you able to elaborate on the report?
I honestly don't have a lot of information on that report. I know a gun was seized in the one from last year, but that's all the information that I have on those right now.
How many search warrants total are you executing?
I couldn't answer that. We have a couple locations. We have a vehicle. We certainly have. We may have electronic devices. If we seize those, that we will seek search warrants on.
And in this prior, we're with CNN. There is a indication that there was an investigation open early on, that a family member had contacted police here and FBI. There was an investigation open, eventually closed. But that gun that you all seized, that was part of that investigation. You don't have any knowledge of that investigation?
I don't have that information. If the
discussion between your department and FBI?
there will be discussion between us, but not that I'm aware of. No.
If he was a former employee, what brought him back here last night specifically?
I wish we could answer that. No
So
idea.
nothing happened leading up to this last night?
Not that we've learned at this point. That's obviously, I mean, those are the questions that we work to answer right now, but we don't have those answers.
Has family from all the victims been notified?
No, we are still working on that. The coroner's office is working to make those notifications, and that's still going on as we speak.
Have all of the victims and the suspects' bodies been removed from the scene?
No, not at this time.
Do you know if he possessed that gun legally that was found with his person last night?
I don't yet. I don't believe that's the case, but I don't know that for sure.
You don't believe it?
I don't believe that that's correct.
And not legally, because he wasn't legally.
I don't know, at this point I don't know that it was illegally possessed.
You don't know if it's illegally.
Correct.
To clarify, what did you seize from the home?
I'm not going to give that information.
And with regard to the victims, was there any sort of characteristics that tied them together, whether race, religion, anything else?
Not at this time, and we're still, like I said, we're still identifying victims, so we still don't have all that information. After everyone is identified, then we'll certainly start working to see if there is anything that ties them together, ties them to the suspect, anything like that.
Again, what kind of police background he had, with the police, I'm sorry? The report?
The report that I'm familiar with is from last year, and I know a gun was seized from him in a report approximately a year ago.
Do you know if the suspect had any relationship with anyone inside the Conex facility, girlfriend, family member, anything?
No, we don't have any information indicating that right now.
No information as to why he was terminated?
I don't know that he was terminated.
Do you know when he last worked here in 2020? Do you have anything more specific?
I don't have exactly when that is. I believe it was in the fall of 2020, but I don't know that for certain.
Did any of your witnesses indicate to you that he said anything as he was going about doing this?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
The gun that was seized in the March report, was that returned to him? What was the status of that?
We're still looking into that.
And you're speaking to his family, his parents?
Sure,
mom,
absolutely.
And there's nothing you can share from that?
No, we're certainly not going to share our conversations with his family. I don't think that would be appropriate on many levels, but no, we're not going to share that.
Take us through the investigation if you can. What happens here now, sir?
Well, the same thing that's been happening, since late last night, early this morning. So we continue. Crime Lab is still here. They are finishing processing the scene. They're working closely with the coroner's office. We're to the point now where we're identifying victims, making notifications to the family, and then hopefully we will wrap up the processing of this crime scene here very shortly and be done at least with this portion of the investigation.
Are all the victims' families been identified yet, or is that still going on?
That's still going on as we speak.
Thank you.
So the coroner's office is responsible for actually positively identifying the victims, and there's a very strict set of criteria that has to be met, and so those are either dental records, DNA, or identification by family. So obviously any ID that they might be wearing certainly helps us, sets us in the right direction, but we still have to go through the right steps with the coroner's office to make those notifications and identifications.
Inside the building where it happened, they said that there's some type of security employees have to go through before they can go into the facility. Did it happen in the breezeway right there, or are you able to share that?
As I said before, there is some physical security inside that entryway, and I think it served its purpose and it did what it was supposed to do last night.
Was the timeline just determined
Thank
by
you.
calls or surveillance video as well? Have family members or people been able to get their phones back?